All right, here we are. I think we're going. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Well, it's a very special time uh, because I have been looking forward to a colonoscopy for a long time, and the time has finally come. We're going to light candles for it. It's going to be special. Well, I'm not going to have candles for the colonoscopy. I'm just going to have candles for the drinking of the fluid. Make it nice, something special. Uh, I got a lot of things here. All these things are things that I saw on the internet help some people. First of all, I only have to, this is my medicine: sodium sulfate, potassium sulfate, and magnesium sulfate oral solution. You mix this with some water, you drink that, and then I got to do another one in the morning. Um, but it's not as bad as you used to have to mix the stuff in like a 3 liter bottle of something, and it was a whole thing. So it's not as bad. But some people say this is very bad. Some people say this is just like medicine. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out. You can see I got some apple juice here. I got some Gatorade. I have some sparkling water, some root beer. I have some lime wedges in case I need to bite on those, like a tequila shot, which, by the way, I never liked even when I did drink, and I haven't been a drinker for most of a decade. We got some Gas X, which is, they say to drink that, so we're going to go ahead and have some of that. We're going to have that right now. And I'm going to have some, this is tea. And my hope is that this will not be as bad as what some people make it out to be. And it's like, it's a big bad. Some people say this is the worst part. Some people say the procedure itself is the worst part. Obviously, there's the thing that comes between that. Not going to live stream that part of it, for which we're all grateful. I've got Jacob's little bar mat here, and these things. So I guess we're going to begin. So what I have to do, I have to take, this is 6 ounces of this, and then I have to take additional 10 ounces of Get Away Cat, Don't Catch Fire. I have to fill it up to here with water. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in here and shake it to make it really cold before we drink it. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're just going to have to do it. Okay. So, all right. First, I'll shake this. I'm going to open it. And let's see. Looks like. Smells not too bad. Okay. So I'm taking it, putting it in this, all of it, the whole thing. You're not to drink this straight because it is too thick and can cause nausea and all sorts of terrible things. So we're not going to do that. So there you go. That's the first 6 ounces. Now, what we're going to do is fill it the rest of the way up to the line. Okay. The water. And then, okay, I'm going to take it and put it in here. It's got some ice. Here we go. I'm going to swirl it a little bit just to make sure I'm not going to swirl it too much though, because it's going to splash out, isn't it? We want it to get good and mixed up. I guess it'll get good and mixed up in there, right? And let's see. We're going to put a little bit of lime juice in it. This was not in the memo, but it does say you can take a little lime right afterwards. So we'll just go ahead and put it right in there. I'm not really good at this. Was never much of a cocktail guy, even when I did drink. Jacob's more of a cocktail person than I am. I did most of my shaking on the dance floor back in those days. Let me take this off. We got a little bit too much fluid in here to get a good shake, so I'm gonna pour this into there. Okay. Oh, we don't want to lose too much of it, so I'm gonna have to be careful, aren't I? I don't want to have to drink that. Maybe I'll drink it with a straw. Oh, I didn't foresee that. That's no good. Oh. Maybe I will drink it with a straw. Let me go get a straw. Got to get a big straw. Some people say sip it anyway. Let's sip this little bit off the mat first. It's not good. I'll admit it's not good. All right. Let's go ahead and get a chaser set up. How about that? We're going to chase it with this is strawberry sparkling water. And I'm going to mix that with apple juice that I've had in the freezer, okay? And the thing is, you got to drink this stuff, and then you're supposed to drink 32 ounces of water over the next hour, water or other fluid. And helpfully, a quart is 32 ounces. So if I make it through that and that'll be my assignment for this first part. And then maybe I'll have some of these other things, or maybe I won't. Okay, I'm going to set that right there. All right, here we go. I'm going to try and sip it or chug it. We'll see. Here we go. Maybe, you know what? Let's put a little more. Well, we'll just wait. Here we go. Oh. All right, let's have a little of this. That's nice. That's got a few ice crystals floating in it. So that's good. Oh, there's more. Ugh, okay. It is pretty gross. Let's have some more of this. I think I better just go ahead and drink it before I think about it too much. Don't you? Let's take these off. Ready? Here we go. It tastes like drinking salt water, and the reason is that's exactly what it is, folks. These ingredients, sodium sulfate, potassium sulfate, and magnesium sulfate, are salts. They are not, I don't know what a salt is. Chemistry's been a long time ago. But they are salts, and the reason is that they pull all this water into your middle part that's going to be the subject of the colonoscopy. And so that's what they do. They just suck it, they just pull it right in there so that this water, instead of going out the way that it usually goes out in the very special way that they need it to go. Let's suck one of these. I don't really like that either. What my hope is, besides accomplishing this for myself, my hope is to demonstrate that it's actually not that bad. I think it's like a lot of things in medicine that the process for this has gotten much better over the past 10, 20 years. Jacob had one of these back in college, and he had to do the whole 3 liter thing. It was terrible. I think I could drink 3 liters of regular fluid. I don't think I could drink 3 liters of anything that tasted like this. And actually, I think this stuff tasted worse than this. So I don't think I could do that. I don't think I would like that. But now it's not that bad. And so my hope is that in doing this, I will demonstrate that it's actually very doable. And so for anyone who has avoided doing it because they thought it would be unpleasant, it really is not necessary to avoid doing. So there are people in my life, and I'm not going to say their names, but imagine somebody who might be like, say, my father, who have never done one of these because they think that it would be unpleasant, and it really should be done. They hold on. I'm going to get some different candles because it looks like these middle ones are getting pretty low. We don't want to cause any accidents. But I think the candles really make it nice, right? That's how you know it's special. Candles make everything special, and I don't know why medical procedures should be any different. In fact, I wish they would light some candles right there in the procedure room. Now, let's talk about that for a moment. They inflate you. So they can see better, and they use carbon dioxide to do this inflation. And so at first I thought, why would they use carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide, that's what we blow out. Why don't they use fresh, precious, life-giving oxygen? And then I remembered that oxygen is highly flammable and whatever the word is that means explosive, combustible. And so they don't want to do that because on the instance that you did have maybe a nice spa treatment like colonoscopy and there were candles, you could very easily explode if they inflated you with oxygen. And so for that reason, they avoid oxygen even in the non-spa treatment type colonoscopies and just go with the non-flammable carbon dioxide. That's 1 carbon, 2 oxygen, and CO2, they call it. I do remember that from chemistry. Don't remember much about salts, except I do know that neither oxygen nor carbon dioxide is a salt. Nor, by the way, are they solid at room temperature. This is another plus. You can't inflate people with a solid, so unless you were doing a colonoscopy on a very cold planet, in a very cold environment, inflation by carbon dioxide should be fine. Now let's go back to why people should do this. Colon cancer is increasing in younger people. And I think this is true. I know that part's true. I think it's true that it's going down in older people as more and more people have taken up the preventive colonoscopies that are recommended. So older people are doing great because of the colonoscopies. Younger people, we don't know why, whether it's diet, whether it's some new pathogen that hasn't been identified, could be related to HPV, although they don't really think so. Younger people are having higher instances of colorectal cancer. And that's not funny. So a lot of things I do are funny. A lot of things I mean, this whole thing is kind of ridiculous. That's not funny. Colorectal cancer is not funny. Who knows when anybody will end up watching this. But as we know, last week, James Vanderbeek Dawson of Dawson's Creek. So anybody who's around my age, a little younger, a little older, who used to watch Dawson's Creek, died of colon cancer after years-long battle and left 4 children and a wife. And I think he was 48 years old, so just about 3 years older than I am. And sadly for him, he was selling some of his memorabilia from Dawson's Creek and from his movie. What was his movie? The football movie. I don't remember the football. Varsity Blues, that's what it was. I'm sitting here thinking Any Given Sunday. That's not correct. Varsity Blues. He was selling his memorabilia from that just to pay for his cancer treatments at the end of his life, which that is something that I can't fix, but that's a sad indictment of our healthcare system and of our government, as if we needed any more indictments of our healthcare system or our government. I'm sure his children would have loved to have those items of memorabilia to remember their dad by, and those have been sold to pay for his care, which hopefully prolonged his life a little bit and hopefully made his end a little less painful, but ultimately did not save him. So James Vanderbeek died of this. I've had acquaintances who have passed away from this. Apparently Catherine O'Hara, who just died a couple weeks ago, the mom in Home Alone, Moira Rose in Schitt's Creek, which, by the way, great show. Go watch it if you haven't watched it. Big star, funny lady, very kind lady. Was just in the John Candy documentary last year, which is also a really good film. Anyway, she passed away from a pulmonary embolism that was secondary to, apparently she had colorectal cancer. And so whatever her treatment was, they believe caused this pulmonary embolism. But she had been suffering with that as well. People didn't know about it outside of her family until she passed away. She was older. She was in her early 70s, still not a very old woman at all. She reached, I believe, her 70, which is what the Bible says the age of man is 70, perhaps in strength even 80. That's not scientific. That's just there in the Psalms. But anyway, James Vanderbeek didn't reach his 70. And so younger people are getting this colorectal cancer. And so the FDA, before you know who was in charge of it, changed the recommendation for what age people should start getting colonoscopies. They revised it downward from had been 50 years old. Now it's 45 years old. So I just hit 45 2.5 months ago, and now it's my time. But I've looked forward to it, not because of this, and not because of the procedure itself, but because I'm a hypochondriac. I come from a long line of hypochondriacs. And worrywarts. My mother, every time I have a headache, she thinks I'm having a stroke, that sort of thing. We call her danger. Everything's dangerous. So anyway, she has instilled those anxieties in me. Anxiety, not great to have. That itself can shorten one's life. But what it does do is it keeps one vigilant about one's health. So I go to my annual physicals every year. I get my checkups. I get my blood work. I did have high blood pressure before I lost all of my weight. High blood pressure is down. Don't have to take medicine for that anymore, but I do have to take medicine for my cholesterol still. Even with the lost weight, my cholesterol was still high. And I don't have that bad of a diet, all things considered. But I take my small dose of statin to keep my cholesterol down. And I try to walk. I don't go to the gym. I never like those places. They all smell like sweat and rubber two things I don't like, and metal. That, that coppery, bloody smell of metal. I don't like that. I don't like gyms. I like to be outside, like to go walk, like to go on a hike. So I try to do that, keeping healthy. But you can't just get these colonoscopies every little whip stitch because your insurance won't pay for them. But thanks to Obamacare, by the way, I'm going to put in a word for Obamacare, all you people that still slander Obamacare. Thanks to Obamacare, colonoscopies are part of the preventive medicine that is required of health insurance to provide to people once they get to the recommended age, which is 45. If you have a history of colon cancer in your parents or your siblings, or maybe your grandparents, but definitely your parents or your siblings, they will pay for you to get it even before you're 45. As early as you can get it, get it. Okay. If things are okay, you don't have to get another one for 10 years. So let's say that I could die tomorrow, by the way. I could die before the colonoscopy. But assuming I live to my 70, 70, I'm 45. That gives me 25 more years. I'm only going to have 2 more of these. Okay. Let's say I live to be 100. I only have to have, 5 more of these? It's not a big deal. Every 10 years, it's like an eclipse. It's like a polar eclipse, if you will, that comes along once every 10 years. Get it done. Check it out. If you're fine, every 10 years. If there's a problem, all the better, because they're able to deal with it expeditiously rather than waiting until it's a serious problem and it's too far gone to treat. Nobody in my family that I know of died of colon cancer except for my great-grandpa Clifford Ernest Inboden. Interesting thing about him, he had to fill out a draft card twice. Once when he was a very young man for World War I, and then once when he was about my age, close to my age, a little bit younger than me, for World War II. He didn't have to go to either one of those wars. He was too young for one and thankfully too old for the other. But his middle name is spelled differently on those 2 draft cards. One calls him Ernst, E-R-N-S-T. The other one calls him Ernest, E-R-N-E-S-T. And so there's been debate even among the family of how do we spell Grandpa's middle name. And the thing is, back in those days, these things were a little more flexible. Grandpa himself, it's in his handwriting, spelled his middle name differently on those 2 draft cards. It's one of the many interesting things about him. But he died of colon cancer when I was 7 in January of 1988. By the way, when he was an 87-year-old man. So he actually lived, he lived 87 years, but that's pretty good. Not many of my actual grandparents lived to be that old. My grandma, my dad's mom, is the only one who lived to be older than that. She lived to be 90. Let's see, she was born in 1921 and she died in 2013. So she lived to be 92. And that's my oldest grandparent. My mom's dad was the youngest. He died at 75. So we'll see how it goes. But I hope not to die of colon cancer. And if I do, it's not going to be because I neglected my preventative procedures. So let's see. What else we need to drink more of this stuff. I will tell you that sparkling strawberry apple juice is good shit. I ordered this. It came from Walmart.com, but I wanted to get something special. I mean, you can see my friend Kevin Miller once told me I have a highly developed sense of occasion, and perhaps no nothing has ever flattered me as much to hear, but maybe nothing has ever been more true about me, that I do have a rather highly developed sense of occasion. Things are an event. So for an event, I didn't want to drink just any old apple juice. I didn't want to drink Mott's apple juice. I wanted to get something nice. So this is Treetop apple juice, farmer owned. Never had it before, but I had to order it online, and it took several days to get here. Let's see, it was bottled right here in the U.S. of A. And let's see if it says where. In Selah. That's auspicious. That's a word right out of the Psalms itself. Selah. Selah. I like that word. Selah, Washington. Right up there where they grow the apples. And I will tell you, one thing I didn't know about apples until just a couple years ago, which we learned from our friend Jose, who lives in Seattle. I should have known this. I don't know why I didn't. We have apples all year long now. It's one of the modern marvels of our farm system, which, by the way, depends a lot on our nation of immigrants who are also under assault, along with science and God knows what all else. We had those apples all year round. And so I was like, where are we importing these apples from in, say, January? And do you know that they have ways to preserve those apples? They harvest them. They can put them in, I don't know, a bin, some kind of refrigeration. And those apples can stay good all until they're ready to ship, all winter long. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. I'm glad they do it. It doesn't say which kind of apples these come from, but I tell you, it's delicious. I highly recommend this. Now, I could find out that the owners of Treetop Incorporated are fascists, for all I know. I haven't looked into it. But barring fascism or some other disqualifying, life of crime and hatred, I highly recommend this Treetop apple juice from Selah, Washington, which comes from a farmer-owned cooperative. And it says right on here, the ingredients are apple juice from concentrate and ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C. Those are the only two things. It's got quite a bit of vitamin C right here. And the nice thing about vitamin C, folks, if you're wondering, what is so good about vitamin C? The thing about vitamin C that I like, besides the fact that it prevents scurvy, is that it's a water-soluble vitamin. So you literally cannot have too much vitamin C. Some vitamins you can overdose on. Vitamin K, can't take too much of that stuff because it's fat soluble. But good old water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C, take as much of that as you want. Take as much of it, frankly, as you can. You cannot have too much of it. It is water-soluble. We're going to have to put these two tallest ones out because they're catching fire in a way that's not healthy. Jacob put masking tape around the bottoms of them so that they would fit the candle holders a little better. And they do. They fit nicely. But the thing about masking tape is it indeed is flammable. Along with, by the way, oxygen, which we were talking about a little earlier. Let's try a little different. Let's do this. Let's put a little more of this lime juice in here. And just in case there's some of this goody-goody there at the bottom that did not get sucked out of there by this. You like this giant straw? We used to drink out of metal straws. And then some of you may remember a few years ago, there was that story out of, I believe, somewhere in the UK this woman was walking with a drink with a metal straw, and honest to God, shit you not, she fell down and ran that metal straw through her eye into her brain. And she survived, and actually, I mean, she was blind after that, quite obviously, but I don't think her brain was that injured. Thanks be to God. But once I learned about that, I thought, you know what we need in this house, in the Harrible house, the house of Harrison Trimble, that's the Harribles. We need flexible straws that cannot run through one's eyes. And so these here are made of silicone. Now we're probably going to find out, and wouldn't that be ironic? We're probably going to find out that silicone causes colon cancer, and the joke will be on me. But you know what? I'm, by God, not going to run this straw through my eye. So I'm going to mix whatever's still in the bottom of this with a little bit of this Gatorade. By the way, it's instructed by my doctor. It's instructed on all the instructions, these instructions that came from CVS, the instructions that came from the manufacturer, everything I've read on clevelandclinic.com and on mayoclinic.com. By the way, I read a lot of these things. You cannot have red or orange or purple dyes before the colonoscopy because they can look like blood. Okay, we don't want that. We don't want that. So you can have blue, you can have clear, you can have yellow. You can think of other colors, green probably. The other thing you're not supposed to do is take iron, because iron can cause, besides constipation, which could slow things down, iron can also cause black in the stuff that is excreted from you. And that can also look like, I don't know, a melanoma or something. So they don't want you to be taking any iron pills, which includes multivitamins. So I haven't had a multivitamin for a week. And I'll tell you another thing about those multivitamins is because they are a mixture of water-soluble vitamins and fat-soluble vitamins, you can overdose on multivitamins. When I was a young boy, too young to count, apparently, we had Flintstone vitamins. You remember those Flintstone vitamins? We are Flintstone kids, 10 million strong and growing. It's a commercial. Loved those Flintstone vitamins. They were delicious. So delicious, in fact, that while my mom wasn't looking, my dad wasn't looking, they were in the living room. It was nighttime. I climbed up on the kitchen sink, and on the windowsill of the window over the kitchen sink, that's where they kept the Flintstone vitamins. And I got an undetermined number of Flintstone vitamins and ate those. And so then my mom found out about it. I think I probably couldn't put the lid back on the bottle. And she asked me how many I took, and I probably went something like this, I don't know. And so because I couldn't count and I didn't know how many I took, and because, once again, you're learning so much, because of those fat-soluble vitamins that you can overdose on, they can poison your system. She felt it was imperative to get those Flintstone vitamins right on out of my system before I could digest them, before those fat-soluble vitamins could dissolve and be absorbed by my fat. So there was syrup of Ipecac, which is a thing, by the way, I don't even think you can get over the counter anymore, probably because, and this is not funny either, but probably because of people with eating disorders and bulimia. You can't get that over the counter anymore. But used to, they advise for parents to keep this in the home. It's an emetic, E-M-E-T-I-C, causes vomiting almost instantaneously. And so if there's a poison, some poisons, by the way, you don't want to throw up. They could be caustic. You want to dilute them with things like milk or baking soda or whatever and flush those on out of your system. But those Flintstone vitamins, and really any fat-soluble vitamin, you should get out of there as quickly as possible. And, of course, you're not going to get a toddler or a young child to gag himself. So she gave me this emetic syrup of Ipecac, and it tasted terrible. And I did go ahead and expel those Flintstone vitamins, and luckily was not poisoned. We avoided poisoning that day, potential poisoning. Still don't know how many I took. But I haven't had any multivitamins this week on account of this colonoscopy. Let's drink this lime juice Gatorade. So that should have been any residual stuff from this that was in the bottom of that should have just been sopped up through this little bit of Gatorade. What else? Got this root beer. You can have soda. You can have soda, black coffee, and tea. You can't have any dairy, so you can't put any dairy in your coffee, which is the way that I usually like my coffee. I don't usually like coffee black, but today I drank my espresso, my iced espresso. I drank it with one of these right here, folks. Drank it quickly so that I couldn't taste it, but I chugged that right on down and I got my coffee. But you can also have root beer. You can have Coke. You can have Sprite. I don't like Sprite. Sprite and 7-Up remind me of being sick. When we were kids, Mom would give us, when we were sick, Jell-O, 7-Up, and either chicken noodle soup from Campbell's or tomato soup from Campbell's with saltine crackers crunched up in them. And I don't do the saltine crackers much anymore, although I don't have anything against them. But you got to crunch those up with your fingers. I like those oyster crackers that you can just pour right out of the bag, and they're already bite-sized. Love those. I've also been drinking some Swanson's chicken broth today, and that is distributed by Campbell's. But you know that Swanson's chicken broth is a product of Canada, our neighbors to the north, and we owe them a lot of goodwill for their restraint in dealing with our current government and its provocations. So I scheduled this colonoscopy for very early in the morning tomorrow because I knew I would have to fast. And ordinarily, when I do anything where I have to fast, so like if I'm going to have a lipid test, a cholesterol test, I'm going to have a glucose test, blood sugar, and I have to fast, I get those tests early in the morning so that I don't have to fast very long, because I don't do well without eating. I don't so much get hangry, although I do get hangry, not like Jacob or my sister Laura. They get very hangry. I don't get as hangry, but I do get sick and weak. And so I thought, I'm going to schedule this procedure early in the morning so I don't have to fast that long. But do you know, I have to do this whole thing. Probably won't have another event like this. I mean, it's a two-part. I'm going to have two of these. Not going to be a mini series of videos. This is the main video. I got to do this again at 4 o'clock in the morning now, thanks to having my procedure scheduled at 8. So that was stupid. And 10 years from now, if I remember, when I'm 55 and even less inclined to get up in the middle of the night to do something, I will schedule my colonoscopy for about noon. And then, even though I do have to fast, I will not have to get up in the middle of the night and deal with all this. And I can get up with all this fluid, folks, and I got sugar. This has no added sugar, by the way. The people there at Treetop Apple Juice, farmer-owned cooperative in Salem, Washington, did not add any sugar to this. This is just pure apple juice from concentrate plus that water-soluble vitamin C. But there are 8 servings per container, and each serving has 25 grams of sugar. And so there's plenty of sugar in this. This is delicious. Gatorade, I don't love the taste of, I don't hate it. I just don't think it tastes like that much, but it's got some sugars and some electrolytes in it. That's why Gatorade is important when you're doing this, because not only do these salts pull out the water, but they pull out a lot of your electrolytes, folks, that you need, particularly sodium and potassium, because that's what makes your heart beat, okay? It's the sodium potassium pump in your muscles that make the muscles go. I do remember that from anatomy and physiology class. So it's important to have that sodium and potassium. Potassium, vitamin K, you can have too much of it, but it's important to have enough of it. You can get some of that right here in this Gatorade, those electrolytes. Electrolytes, it's right in there. That's what makes the little sparks that make your muscles go, including your heart. So you can have all this stuff, and if you've got a colonoscopy coming up at noon, even if you've got a fast, boy, you can have a lot of flavorful stuff to get ready for that. That's all in liquid form. I don't have my Swanson's chicken broth out here because I don't drink that at room temperature or cold. I drink that. I put that right there in a coffee mug, a big coffee mug, and I pop that in the microwave for about 2.5 minutes, and it's just right. It's just warm and just right, and I stir it up a little bit, and then I just sip it. And that is good stuff. Boy, that just hits the spot. Hits the spot. Reminds you of being a child coming in. Remember those Campbell soup? Wasn't that a Campbell soup commercial where that kid came in and he was a snowman and then he melted and he was just a kid? And that was a metaphor, of course. He wasn't ever a snowman to begin with. He was cold. That's what the metaphor was about. He was cold from being outside, playing in the weather, and came in and had some of that delicious Campbell soup. That warmed him right up. He became a real boy again. So I love that Swanson's chicken broth. I love Campbell soup too. Kind of a prole food, as their corporate executive said famously recently, and he got fired for saying it. But it's a food for people of my station, and I accept that, and I like it. I like it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. I really do care for. Let's have some more of this stuff. It looks like we've had about 3/5 of this quart of sparkling apple juice. Well, let's go ahead and have some more. By the way, when you get sparkling apple juice and it's marketed as sparkling apple juice, so like replacement champagne, checking to make sure my microphone's still working. You get that replacement champagne sparkling juice, they almost always add sugar to that and some other sulfites or whatever. I don't even know what those are. Probably not good for you. The folks here at Treetop Apple Juice Farmer-Owned Cooperative, since 1960, that's 66 years ago. These folks have been going a long time. That's like 2.5, 3 generations of people. Farmer-owned. Could be fascist. We don't know, but we don't think so. Right up there in Salem, Washington. They do put vitamin C in there, but that's okay, as we've talked about. They put no added sugar. So if you're watching there at home, and God help you if you are, if you want sparkling apple juice, I do not suggest, that's Sammy. Sammy, come over here. You want to get on the show? Come here. Get on here. Get on the show. If you want to get sparkling juice, don't buy sparkling juice. Buy some of this Treetop apple juice and get yourself some sparkling water. This here is marketed, this is bubbly. Is that a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi product? I don't remember. Can't say anything about those corporations. Not farmer-owned for sure. Get you a sparkling water of your choice. No sugar added. Pour that into that Treetop apple juice. Drink it, and that's going to be delicious. No sulfites that we know of. Sammy Joe, look up here. Look. Down the hatch. Let's go ahead and finish that off. All right, so we've done our assignment. Everything else that I can manage to drink at this point is a bonus. When I was always one of those overachieving kids in school, particularly in grade school and middle school, who was always finishing his assignments early and then asking, can I do something for extra credit? I was one of those kids that you had to tell, don't work ahead in the book because you're not going to know what to do, and you're going to, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't work ahead. So they would have to give me bonus assignments to keep me busy until it was time to move on to the next lesson in the book. So I've always been a person who liked to have extra assignments. Let's have this root beer. You want to? This is 7.5 ounces. By the way, I love that they make these tiny cans of soda now, because 12 ounces, that's too much. That is too much sugar. This right here, now, this is mug root beer. This is the New Century Beverage Company. I don't even know what the hell that is. But this has 27 grams of added sugar. So that is more sugar in this 7.5 ounces of root beer. That's more added sugar than there is total sugar right here in this apple juice from the folks at Treetop. This mug root beer, though, is delicious, and it has no caffeine in it, if that's a concern of yours. It has 100 calories right there in that 7.5 fluid ounce can. And as I said, 12 ounces is too much for something sweet like this. 12 ounces is fine for this sparkling water that has no sugar, no calories in it. This is about right for a mug root beer or any other soda. 10 more calories in this than there is a equal-sized can of Coca-Cola, which is another one of my personal favorites. Let's try this. Let's try this root beer. Well, that just tastes like childhood, doesn't it? Love root beer. Love a root beer float. My grandma and grandpa in Bowdoin had a greenhouse and landscaping business in Bowdoin Seed Sales right there on 505 Tampa Street in Robinson, Illinois. And Grandma always had a refrigerator in the back that had pop in it. And if I remember right, when I was little, I think they even had, I could be making this up, but I feel like it was a machine. It wasn't like a big pop machine. It was like a little refrigerator that she kept pop in, kept it loaded, and you had to put in a quarter, maybe you only had to put in a nickel or something back then. But then that way, she didn't just buy the pop just for the employees. The employees had to put in a little, but nothing too much. And there was always root beer in that. Love that root beer. Although I think she always had that Barg's root beer that's in the silver can, not the mug root beer. I get this mug root beer because I can get it from Sam's Club where I get my other stuff. They don't have Barg's root beer, but I generally prefer Barg's. But honestly, who the hell cares? They got that Fritz's root beer here in St. Louis, and that's a big deal. There's another root beer that I like. I don't remember the name of it, though. I think you can't go wrong with a good root beer. Let's have some more of this. Oh my. I like a root beer float, but I really like a root beer freeze where they blend the ice cream or the custard, that frozen custard, right on up with the root beer so that you can just sip it through a straw. Not through a metal straw. Sip it through one of these. And you can see it's a wide bore, which I appreciate as well. I don't like a skinny straw. Skinny straw, my God. You got to suck so hard. It takes the joy right out of it. It takes the joy right out of a milkshake if you've got to suck that hard, or alternatively, you've got to wait until it's almost melted to be able to suck it through the thing at a regular suction. Like I said, it steals my joy. I prefer a wide bore straw like this silicone straw right here, which once again, impossible to run this through your eye socket into your brain. Let's take a sip of some of this melted ice and Gatorade. That's not great. Let's chase it with this root beer. Well, let's do some math, shall we? Let's do some math. We have had our 16 ounces of solution. We have had 12. Well, let's not even count this because this was part of the quart. So in a quart, there's 32 ounces. I had 32 ounces of sparkling water and apple juice. So if you're keeping track, 32 plus 16, that's 48. Then I had 7.5 fluid ounces of root beer just now. You just saw it. You can verify this. Not AI. I really drank the root beer. It's gone. It's gone. Look. All gone. 7.5 added to 48 is 56.5. Is that right? 55.5. And then let's see. This is a 20-ounce bottle of Gatorade. I'd say I have had, I don't know, a quarter of it maybe. So say that's 5 more ounces. So about 60 and 1/2 ounces so far. That's pretty good. And then whatever little sip I had of this at the very beginning of our show to swallow these simethicone Gas-X pills, which are suggested to help ease some of the side effects that may arise from drinking this solution. Now, I really don't like scatological humor. I don't like talking about excrement. Find it gross. I like talking about sex a lot. I like talking about genitals. I think it's hilarious, okay? Hilarious to make puns about sex and genitals. That's vulgar. That's common. And I will cop to it. I am common to the core. I am common core. Don't hate me, teachers. I am common core. But I don't like talking about excrement. I find it juvenile and frankly disgusting. All of which is to say, I'm not going to take you into the bathroom with me. You're not going to see that part. Wouldn't ask you to. Don't want you to think about it. I don't want to think about it. That's coming up. Don't think it'll be a problem. Been doing that my whole life. But then tomorrow, 8 o'clock, got to be down there at the Center for Advanced Medicine, which is part of the campus at Barnes Jewish Hospital right here in the central west end of St. Louis, Missouri, USA. And I will go up to the 10th floor of that Center for Advanced Medicine, and I will check in, and they will put me in a gown, not an evening gown, no sequins. They'll put me in a hospital gown, and then I will go into a room. Jacob will come with me. Excuse me, I just had a little bit of burp. Jacob will come in there with me and keep me company, and they will start an IV and chill me out and start some, I don't know, saline going through me. And my doctor will come in. His name is Dr. Paul Wise. That's auspicious, right? Wise. So we've had 2 auspicious things. We've had Selah, Washington, which is the headquarters of this Treetop Apple Juice. It's a family-owned cooperative, farm-owned cooperative, farmer-owned cooperative. Selah. Auspicious. Also auspicious, my surgeon's name is Wise. It's right there in the name. You can't go wrong with a wise surgeon. And he's going to come in and talk to me, tell me a little bit about the procedure. It's a teaching hospital, Washington University. He's a professor. In fact, I think he is the chief whatever of the department. So I bet he will have a student with him, maybe not. He'll come in, see if I got any questions, and I do have questions. Here are some of my questions. 1, what am I going to be given for anesthesia? 2, will you take pictures and will you give me some of them? 3, can Jacob record what you tell me after the procedure about what you found? Because I will still be groggy, and Jacob is not a very reliable historian when it comes to medical things because he doesn't listen carefully. And so if he can just turn on a recorder right there on his phone, you can do that today. You don't have to get a separate tape recorder. You don't have to get out a microphone. It's right there on your phone. Turn it on. Turn it on. But I will ask permission from the doctor to do that. And if he says no, we'll probably still turn it on, but we won't tell him about it. But I'll feel better if I get that permission. And so those are my 3 questions. What am I given for anesthesia? Will you please take pictures and give me some? That's a 2-parter question. So technically, I guess it's 4 questions. And can Jacob record what you tell us after the procedure? And then they'll give me something to make me sleepy and or completely asleep. They'll put some electrodes on me for heart monitor. They may have to shave me. I'm quite hairy. I am hirsute. They may have to shave part of me just to get those electrodes to stick, folks. And that's just the pure virility of a real man. That's to make sure my heart does not act up while I am asleep. They'll have those on. Somebody will be watching it the whole time. Somebody will be monitoring my breathing the whole time. They'll go in there, they'll do their scope and see what they find. Hopefully it'll be all good. And it won't take very long at all. I should be home by noon. When I was in high school, my biology teacher, Mr. Ed Irwin, who now lives in Edwardsville, Illinois, but then lived in Flora, Illinois, and was a teacher at Clay City High School, where I was a student and I was in his biology class. He brought in one day photographs, blown up 8x10 photographs of a colonoscopy, not of a colonoscopy, of the inside of a colon. He passed them around the class and he said, now guys, this is the inside of a colon. I'm not going to tell you, this is from a colonoscopy. I'm not going to tell you who they're from. Okay, it was my daughter, Jana. And Jana, beautiful girl. Now she's a beautiful woman. And I think she was a cheerleader at Flora High School, very popular. And I have a hard time believing that he secured her permission to show us the inside of her colon before doing so. However, he did it. So that's the first colon I ever saw the inside of, Jana Irwin. God bless her. And so I feel like part of what I should do is send these photos to Mr. Irwin and tell them that he should pass them on to Jana and tell her now we're even. It's only fair. But then I also feel like that is pathological behavior for me to do that. I mean, this was, I've been graduated from high school in May, 27 years. So this was probably 28, 29, maybe 30 years ago. I don't remember if it was freshman biology or junior biology. But for 30 years, I've remembered that, and I crack up every time I cannot think about a colonoscopy without thinking of Jana Irwin and Mr. Irwin. Just one of the many. I learned a lot, by the way. I learned probably more in his class and in history class than I learned in any other class, and that's to cast no aspersions on my other teachers. I enjoyed all of my other courses. I enjoyed my English courses very much, went on to become an English major. But I already knew how to read, and I already knew a lot about grammar and so forth. I knew nothing about science. I knew nothing about biology or colons, for sure, God knows. And so I learned a lot in Mr. Irwin's biology class, in his biology 2 class. We did bird watching, listened to bird calls, we had anatomy, we had microbiology, and I'm sure microscopes have improved quite a bit in the last 30 years, but we had pretty high-tech microscopes for a little school and could look at those germs under the microscope. And well, Mr. Irwin was just a hell of a teacher. Mr. Irwin, if you're watching out there, doubt you are, but if you are, thank you for being such a great teacher. Still think it's kind of silly that you showed us your daughter's colonoscopy pictures, but who am I to judge? This is iced tea, by the way. I drink iced tea a lot. I drink a lot of iced tea, just like water. In fact, I drink more of it than water. It is mostly water. I don't drink very strong iced tea. I used to drink strong iced tea, and I just don't like it that much anymore. And so I water it down significantly, and I still like it. We were over there in Scotland in September. We drank a lot of hot tea and put some milk in it and some sugar, some Demerara sugar. Drop a little lump of that in there and stir it with your milk and your hot tea. That was good stuff. That was good stuff. Cozy after a long day of hiking in the rain. That was a good trip. That was a good trip. You guys should do that. You should go over and hike that West Highland Way in Scotland and have some some of those scones at the little roadside pubs and inns, and have yourself some of that hot tea with Demerara sugar and milk, and much like the Swanson's chicken broth and the root beer, that really hits the spot. Let's have some more of this Gatorade. This is Cool Blue. That's not a flavor that occurs in nature. You got to be careful when you're buying Gatorade for this particular purpose, because you want to get Gatorade that has the dextrose, the sugar, etc. in it, and not the kind that has like 10 calories and sucralose instead of sugar and dextrose, because the whole point is to make sure that you're getting enough calories and electrolytes to get you through until you can eat solid food again. And if you're getting that sugar-free shit, you're not getting the real benefit of the Gatorade. So don't do that. You got to be careful. When I order it, I may have gone overboard, but I ordered 16 of these bottles. And I ordered 2 kinds, light blue and dark blue, or cool blue as it were. And I almost ordered a clear kind. And then I looked at the ingredients, says right on there, sucralose, 10 calories. That is worthless. Don't even bother with it. It's not worth the plastic. It is not worth the petroleum they used to make this plastic to give you a 10-calorie sucralose Gatorade. Okay? That's frankly bullshit. That's frankly bullshit. I don't even know why they make that stuff. Okay. So let's do our math again. 20 ounces, 32 ounces, that's 52 ounces, plus 16 ounces is 68 ounces, plus the 7.5 ounces, that's 75.5 ounces since we've been talking. And I've still got some water in here, and I've still got, you know what, I'm going to dilute this tea, because I don't like straight water that much, but I'll dilute this iced tea, and then it'll be tea flavored water or water flavored tea. It goes both ways, really. And that's math. That's math. If you remember from math, it doesn't matter whether you add or subtract before or after. It's all the same. Multiplication, if there's a multiplication thing in your math sentence, you got to do the multiplication first. But if it's just addition and subtraction, doesn't matter. This is an addition problem. Is it water plus tea or is it tea plus water? Doesn't matter. The end product is the same. My God, I tell you, that's some of the best apple juice I've ever had. I like apple sauce as well, and apple butter. Like that apple butter. That apple sauce has too much fiber in it. You're not supposed to be eating a bunch of fiber. You're supposed to be sticking to low residue foods in the days before this colonoscopy procedure, and then of course the day before you can only have liquid. And if your liquid is something that is more opaque than water, you're not supposed to have it. So the key is, can you pour this liquid into a glass and read through it? You could pour a giant glass of this treetop apple juice from Salem, Washington, and hold it up, and you could read a newspaper through it. It is just that pure and clear, strained, beautiful. Can't go wrong. Low residue, not going to screw up your colonoscopy. Can't do that with orange juice. Not supposed to have orange juice. Can't do that with cranberry juice. And that's a trick, because if you have cranberry juice, you've already gone wrong because it's red. You're not supposed to have red drinks. Can't do that with pineapple juice. Technically, you could filter your pineapple juice. You could strain your pineapple juice and potentially have some, but why even bother when you can stick to juices that are clear, that are see-through, like this good apple juice right here, like that faux juice, Cool Blue Gatorade. I don't know how soda gets off the hook, because you can't read through soda. Be that as it may, everything I've read, including from my doctor and online from that Cleveland clinic, those are experts, from Johns Hopkins University, and from that Mayo Clinic about colonoscopies. They all say you can have black coffee, tea, soda, Gatorade, all that other stuff. Not going to go wrong. Not going to go wrong. Let's have just a little more sip of apple juice. Let's have a little more sip of apple juice. Let's do something we can measure, though. What can we measure? Well, I guess I could put it here in this thing, since I've already gotten all the nasty stuff out. Let's pour ourselves 16 ounces of this treetop apple juice. $16 ounces, that's a pint. Bottoms up. I'm not lying, that is good stuff. I know I'm absolutely full of shit, at least for the time being. But when I tell you that's good apple juice, it's good stuff. You gotta believe me, and don't take my word for it. Order you some of that. Salem, Washington. Some of the best damn apple juice I've had. You know, when I was little and still had a bottle, I was bottle fed. I don't know whether that says anything about me or not, but I was. I would have apple juice in my bottle, and I would also have iced tea in my bottle with sugar in it. That probably explains a lot as well. But I've always liked apple juice and iced tea, and milk for that matter. I had goat's milk. I was allergic to cow's milk. I had goat's milk. We had two goats, Annie and Fanny. And I wouldn't milk the goats at that age. My dad would milk the goats. and I would drink that goat's milk. If you're watching in the UK, fanny doesn't mean the same thing here that it does there. So that was not a vulgar name to give to a goat here in the United States of America. By the way, we're about to celebrate our 250th birthday here in the United States of America in just about 4 months and 1 week. So here's to the United States of America, the country that loves freedom and has a completely benign meaning for the word fanny. We've had some nice weather. It's about to get cold again tomorrow. For the last few days, I've had the windows open. My daffodils are up. My irises are up. My fennel's coming up from the crowns from last year. Things are looking good. Things are looking good. It's a hell of a February. Okay. What were we at? We were at 75.5 plus 16. That's 85.5, 91.5 ounces. And we only needed to have 48 ounces. So I've had almost twice what I needed. That's a lot of extra credit. I feel pretty good about it. I feel a bit waterlogged. I probably look a little rotund. I feel like I got water behind my eyes. But I've made it through this drinking process. I don't look forward to having the second bunch of this in the morning, but I will do it. It won't be that bad. It wasn't that bad. And that's what I want to tell you. It's not that bad. Do it. You don't have to drink 96 ounces of fluid. You only have to drink 48, and you only have to do it over the course of an hour. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. All you have to do is prove to yourself that you are healthy. And to do that, you should go get your physical every year. I try to do mine around my birthday, so I remember every year. Go get your physical every year. Get your checkups. If you're a woman, get your mammograms on schedule. Get your pap smears, your cervical exams on schedule. And if you are 45 or older, or if you have a family history of colon cancer and you're younger than 45, go get your colon checked out. Colonoscopy. We got to take care of each other. Now more than ever, look out for each other, look out for ourselves. And the older I get, we used to make fun of or joke about, I don't know about make fun of, we used to joke about older people saying things like, well, at least you've got your health. But the older you get, the more you realize that's a real deal. Just to not have broken bones, to not have cancer, to not have a heart attack or a stroke, every day is a miracle. And we can't prevent, like I said, Jacob and I could have a wreck on the way to the colonoscopy in the morning and not ever make it there. Go straight to heaven. You don't have any control over that. Minimal control. Drive defensively. But you could walk out and get hit by a bus. You could get shot by a stray bullet, particularly in this country where gun laws are ridiculous. But if you're over there in the UK, you could get stabbed by a switchblade or hit by a billy club. You can't control accidents. What you can control, what you do have some agency over, is health and prevention. Take care of your diet. Eat as healthily as you possibly can. You don't have to go on a diet. Just eat sensibly. Try to eat more natural things. The fewer ingredients you have in a something, the better. You don't have to go to the gym. Like I said, I hate the gym. Just exercise by moving. Just move. You stop moving, you start dying. That's what I say. And so keep moving. And by God, go get your colonoscopy if it's time. Okay? Do it. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And I will update you after this whole process is over to let you know what I find out, to let you know how the rest of the process went. Not going to talk about the middle of the process because I don't believe in that. Talk about this. Talk about the procedure. Get that done. And God bless you. God bless your families. God bless the United States of America, such as it is in these times. Thank you for watching.